And we are live. Hello, everyone. Good evening. So today's topic is creating your perfect elevator pitch for your business. So if you're joining us from Melbourne, please say hi. If you're joining us from any other country, please mention what country you're joining us today, because you might experience a bit different circumstances if you're in a different country, because we are in stage 4 here in Melbourne, and it's been an interesting time definitely here. So, but you know, the good thing about it, isolation is actually a great time to learn something new and also improve your online presence. Even if, you know, in the current circumstance, there are some opportunities, and you know, if you can have a short and clear introduction to what you can offer, it helps you grab these rare opportunities at the moment and turn it to the business. And you know, like, I believe that online we need to be even more precise than we telling people about what we do, because online people even more time poor. At least if you meeting people face to face and give you elevator pitch, you have all the advantages of nonverbal communication, and you can really see their reaction. Where online, you don't even know if they're listening. So we're going to dive in today how to actually write this perfect elevator pitch for your business and grabbing this attention and actually turning these opportunities into the business. And as you know, it's quite relevant topic today. So please tag your friends who need to hear this today and who want to join our discussion, and maybe even get their elevator pitch reviewed by Carol. So before I'll get Carol introduce herself, I just want to remind you that we're going live both on YouTube and LinkedIn today. And please, of course, subscribe to my YouTube channel or follow Live with Yana hashtag on LinkedIn, so you can actually watch us every Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. And we're talking about all the things LinkedIn, personal branding, and effective online communication. So please make sure you participate and ask as many questions as you want, and Carol will have some giveaway for those who will be interacting with us the most during the presentation and asking tricky questions. So I'm just gonna pass it to Carol to introduce herself.
Thank you, Yana. My name is Carol Benton. I'm a business communication expert and content writer, and I specialize in helping companies to win more business through effective communication. A lot of businesses are really great at what they do, but they just struggle to find the words to communicate their value. So, as I say, I help them to refine their message and to use effective communication to win more business.
Thank you, Carol. And for everyone who's joining us today, so make sure write your elevator pitch in the comments. So if you already have your elevator pitch, or just the way how you usually introduce yourselves, make sure you write it in the comments as you're joining us. So, and as we're going through, we're going to review these elevator pitches and give you some recommendations. So, you know, anytime during this stream, as soon as you're joining us, make sure you pop your elevator pitch into the comments. So, okay, let's start with the first question would be obviously, what is elevator pitch, Carol? Like, why it's even like here you go, you have a picture of the elevator here on the background. So I'm wondering if it's actually any story that related to why the elevator pitch is actually called elevator pitch.
Sure. Yeah, and yes, there is. So an elevator pitch is a short, succinct, and very clear introduction to you or your business, or it could be an idea. It very clearly explains your value, and it might showcase some of your successes. It might be also an opportunity to ask for people you want to be connected with. But the reason it's called an elevator pitch, Yana, to answer that question, is the idea is that if you got into an elevator with somebody, got into a lift with somebody, and they said, "What do you do?" you should be able to describe what you do in the time it takes the elevator to reach whichever floor you're going to. So assuming it's not, the second floor or something, wouldn't give you very long. But the idea is that gives you somewhere between about 15 seconds, maybe 30, 40. To be honest, these days, an elevator pitch really could be anything from 15 seconds to a minute or just over if it's a more formal situation. But the name comes from the idea being that if you had to pitch your business in the time it takes to take the elevator from one part of a building to another, then you could do it in a way that the person you're talking to really clearly understands.
So it seems people who are working in the taller buildings, they have a higher chance to
absolutely. Absolutely. Look, I don't know about you, but I have never, ever got into an elevator with somebody who says, what do you do? However, I have been in a lot of situations where somebody says, what do you do? And you have an answer, and I'll tell you an absolutely true story about that in a moment. But also, like you, Jana, I do a lot of business networking, and quite often in those meetings there is a formal opportunity. Everybody's given 30 seconds or a minute to introduce themselves and their business. Or it might be a meeting where, it's not a networking meeting per se, but a business meeting where everyone goes around the table, or in this case, round the screen, and just has a chance to introduce themselves. So it's really good idea to have something to say. And the point is that the shorter the time you have to introduce yourself, the harder it is in some ways, because every second counts. So if you spend 20 seconds waffling, that's 1/3 of your minute gone. Whereas actually, if you've got an hour to present your business, that's actually much easier. So there's an art and a bit of structure behind getting the right elevator pitch, but it is one of the most valuable business tools you will ever have. So it's, it really can open up opportunity. And as I say, I'll tell you a true story. This happened to me. Look, opportunity is everywhere. I was sitting in the surgeon's rooms. I had to have some surgery, and I was meeting the surgeon, and he said, what do you do? Now, I wasn't even in work mode. I was just thinking about this surgery I had to have. He said, what do you do? And I said, well, I'm a business communications specialist and business writer. I specialize in helping technology companies to win more business through effective communication. Now, I didn't have to think about that. I just said it because that's my elevator pitch. He said, what he said next absolutely blew me away. He said, that's interesting. I'm an investor in a technology company. We really need some help with communication. The following week, I had a meeting, and a week after that, I had a new client, all from sitting in the surgeon's rooms. And because I had my elevator pitch ready to go, I didn't think of it as a business scenario, but I just had it there ready to go.
And that's a really good point, because a lot of people think that elevator pitch is something that you only use at the network event or at some business event or something. But in reality, if you really practice it and it's in your head, you can use it anyway. And that's exactly the point. You don't need to think about it, because so many times then we, maybe emotional as well. So because the situation that you're waiting for surgery, you probably wasn't in your calmest state of mind.
No, that's right. So,
but then
absolutely.
then you know something by heart. No matter what sort of situation, you will just say it as it is.
It's got to be like saying your name. If somebody says, oh, what's your name? You don't have to think about that. You just say, well, I'm Jana Martins. So it's got to be like that. It's got to roll off your tongue like that. I think the other way of explaining what an elevator pitch is to also explain, as I have in the slides there, just to explain a little bit about what it's not. So it's not a full rundown. It's not going to tell everyone everything about your business, nor should it try to. It's not all about you. I see a lot of people with an elevator pitch where the first thing they talk about is the awards they've won, or their qualifications. That might be important for your clients to know. It's not the very first thing they need to know. It's also not a sales pitch. You're not trying to close a piece of business. It's not War and Peace. It's 15 seconds to maybe 60 seconds. So it's really just as important to think about what you leave out as what you put in. The sole aim of an elevator pitch is to make a connection so that people want to hear more. So what you're aiming for at the end of your elevator pitch is somebody to say, oh, that's interesting. How do you do that? Or that's interesting. Tell me more. Or to think, to think about, I'd like to get in touch with that person again. Yes, sorry, that's the slide. Yes.
And I don't know. I just saw the Peace in the War there. Have you actually read the Peace in the War?
No, I haven't. Yeah, you probably read it in the original Russian.
I did.
Yes.
All 4 books.
No, I haven't. It's one of those expressions we tend to use in English. Yes, but no, I'm ashamed to say I've never read it.
We actually have to read it. Yes, it's a part of the curriculum in Russia. You have to read War and Peace. But usually girls skip the war part and guys skip the peace part. And usually like guys reading 2 books and girls reading 2 other books.
Oh, that's very good.
So coming back to elevator pitch, you have a great picture here.
Yes. So
So what do you do if you have elevator pitch and crickets?
Well, yeah. Look, sometimes people are probably a little bit too polite to give you this exact face, but actually internally that's probably what they're thinking, and they're sort of thinking, it's very easy. And I've heard elevator pitches where I've kind of internally been doing that face, thinking, yeah, they spoke for a minute, but I still don't understand, what actually do you do? And how can you help me or my contacts? Because an elevator pitch is, it's not only about getting the person you're talking to understand what you do. Chances are they're not going to be a client. The point is that they might know someone, like my surgeon. He wasn't going to use my services, but he knew a company that could. So, people, if you don't get the elevator pitch right, people are thinking, yeah, what do you do? What do you want from me? What is it you want me to do? And how do you actually help? Who do you help? How do you help? What's the benefits of your service? So you will know if you haven't got your elevator pitch right, because you'll be getting blank looks or sort of polite smiles. or possibly if people aren't all that polite, you might actually be getting that look. So that's
also,
and I've heard
people saying like, interesting.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And
another drink. Yeah.
Or like, it's just the person there I want to say hi to.
Exactly right.
So how we can avoid it? So then we actually saying our elevator pitch, we don't get this reaction. People just don't go and having a drink or grabbing a glass of water.
So look, there's 3 parts to getting the elevator pitch just right. So first of all, there's a structure. It's I think Jana, we probably need the slide just before that one. If that's okay.
Yeah, this one. Here you go.
Yeah. So there's the structure, and in a minute I'll take you through a structure. And I'm a big believer in business communication. There is a structure for everything. You don't have to sit down with a blank piece of paper and start from scratch. There is a structure for everything, and there is a structure for an elevator pitch. I'm not saying mine is the only structure. It's one that works, and that I find this is the one that when I coach people, this is the one that I use, and I've had really good results with it. Then it's a question of preparation and a question of practice. Like any other presentation, you wouldn't dream of standing up to give a 20-minute, half an hour, 45-minute pitch without doing some preparation and some practice. So think of your elevator pitch as a pitch, as a presentation. Okay, it's not one with slides, but it's a presentation, and you need to prepare it and practice it. So yeah, look, today, I'll go through how I would recommend structuring an elevator pitch, and then what to do for preparation and practice.
And also for the people who's listening to us, guys, how do you introduce yourself? Like, do you have this elevator pitch that you just know by heart and constantly saying kind of the same thing, or it just some random words and coming out of your mouth, and then you discussing it, or you have a rough idea, but you saying, you're saying it differently every way. So how do you usually introduce yourself? So please comment below so that we know what's your thoughts about it. So when we come to the structured elevator pitch, so here's your structure, Carol. So
yeah. So this is the structure that I recommend, that I find works, and it starts with what I call a relatable statement. And the relatable statement is about setting the scene. So it's before you even introduce yourself. Now, this first bit is optional. Some people don't feel comfortable with it, but I think it's really powerful way to get people's attention. So, for example, Jana, if we were doing your elevator pitch, we might make a relatable statement that says something about how powerful video is, but actually how people perhaps get very nervous about making their own video. So we might say, in the modern world, so many relationships start online. Video is really important for building trust, and communication. Something like that.
Also, I think some people do like to put some statistic in it.
Yes,
like
absolutely.
80% or like 20%. You know how often people saying, 89% of content is video. That's a really common one. You probably don't want to use the common one, but you want to find something in these lines, yeah?
Absolutely. It could be, statistics are really powerful for giving yourself credibility. Absolutely. So you might want to use statistics. It could be a question. Do you ever feel like you'd love to be able to use video for your content, but you just don't feel confident enough? Yes. So the idea of this statement is that people can relate to it, because if people don't understand or believe that there is a problem, then they're not going to be interested in what you've got to say about what you do, which is the solution. So that's the idea of the relatable statement. It sets the scene. It's just probably 2 sentences at the most. And then you go into your introduction. And we'll talk about, by the way, in a bit later, different forms of the elevator pitch. So when my surgeon, was speaking to me, I didn't sort of do a relatable statement. I just went straight into what I do. But the introduction is, if people don't know you, it might include your name. My name is Jana Martins. I'm a video confidence coach, or my name is Carol Benton. I'm a business communication expert and content writer. So you might include your name, and you might include you will include what you do. So if somebody has already met you and says, "What do you do, Jana?" You don't say, "My name's Jana Martins," of course, but you say, "I'm a video content coach." And then the important bit is who you help and how you help them. And the clues there are sentences like, "I help this type of people to achieve this kind of outcome. I help small businesses," or "I help people who are not confident with video create great videos that attract a bigger audience," or, whatever it is. So it's who you help and the value or the outcome. So I might say, "I help technology companies to win more business through effective communication." So who you help and how you help. And if you were just doing the 15-second elevator pitch, it would actually just be that. It would be, "My name is Carol Benton. I'm a blah, blah, blah. I help companies to do this, this, and this." As I say, if it's a more formal setting, you do your relatable statement, then your introduction. And then if you've got longer, if you've got, say, 60 seconds, the next part, there's several variations. You're expanding on your value. So you can do that through examples, customer stories, or through the process. So Jana, you might say, "For example, I've recently been working with,
one of my versions was I recently been working with the speaker who was really comfortable to talk in front of the thousands of people in the audience, but for result then he would be in front of the camera, and by helping me to feel more confident in front of the camera, he can get 10,000 views on LinkedIn and that many signings to his website."
Absolutely perfect example. So it's really important that you talk about the client story. Really important to have the outcome. which you just did there. So, you know, you've expanded on the customer story that says, this is what the problem was. He was confident in front of an audience, but not in front of a camera. I helped him to be confident in front of the camera. The outcome was he can now get great videos online and he's expanded his audience. That's a really perfect example. The other way that people do that, expand your value, could be, I do this with by taking my customers through a 3-step process. For example, three is a good number to use, but I do this by taking my customers through a 3-step process. Firstly, we do A, secondly, we do B, thirdly, we do C. So there are a couple of ways of expanding your value. And I think it's a really good idea to have a couple of versions that you can sort of mix and match.
And I guess the version will depend who you're talking with. And if you're more in a casual kind of, I don't know, drinks atmosphere, or you're in a really formal meeting where you really need to come up with really structured examples, I guess then you will use the different versions, depends on the situation.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's exactly right. So if you're in a networking meeting, for example, you would then also use this 4th part, which is what do you want to ask for? So if you're in a more formal situation, it's what do you want to ask for? I say in a networking meeting, it might be, I'd love to be introduced to people who struggle with video, or people who run technology companies, or people who, wear blue shoes. So it's who you'd like to be introduced to. It could be asking for something. I would love to help more people. And if you know of an opportunity for me to speak, I'd love a speaking opportunity. It could be, I'd love you to sign up to my newsletter. I'd love you to come to my webinar. So it's sometimes an opportunity to ask for something. So there's those 4 key parts. Sometimes you will use all 4. So I was at a networking meeting only this morning where we had a formal 1 minute to introduce ourselves. And I went through an elevator pitch that was all 4 of those parts. When I was sitting in the surgeon's rooms and he said, what do you do? I used the 2nd part. I help, I do this, and I help this type of company to achieve this type of outcome. So it depends on how long you've got and who you're talking to, whether it's a social situation or a business situation. But the point still stands. The opportunity is everywhere. The bit that really absolutely has to roll off your tongue is that introduction piece.
The second, yep.
So, yeah, that's the bit that absolutely has to roll off your tongue without you even thinking about it.
And I guess the last bit, the ask bit, it's kind of what we call to action when it comes to the video.
Exactly, yeah.
And I guess the call to action will be quite like different. Again, depends on the event that you're attending. And sometimes, if you feel that the audience is quite warm already, you might ask them, to book the call with you or schedule, I don't know, the coffee chat. But if it's a cold audience, you can ask them, join my live streams every Wednesday at 5:30, because I'm not trying to sell anything, but I'm giving value, and I'm building this trust with this cold audience. So I guess, again, depends how well you know these people, you will ask for the different things.
That's absolutely, spot on, Jana. That's exactly right. So there's some bits that stay the same every time, and there's other bits that change. And that's one of them. Yes, you change it depending on your audience and depending on what you want. But it's a good idea to always bear in mind that an elevator pitch can be a great opportunity to ask for what you want. Even if you're in that elevator and somebody says, well, you tell them, they say, that's interesting. You might just say, look, can we exchange cards and I'll get in touch with you to have a further discussion, in those good old days when we used to exchange business cards. But, or can we connect on LinkedIn? So, always think about asking for something.
I just want to come back to the question before we went to structure. We asked, how do you usually introduce yourself? And sorry, I can't see your name for some reason. Your name not coming through. Please pop your name in the next comment. I would use my experience summary in the sentence of maximum 20 words. So Actually, if you have time, maybe type your experience summary. Maybe type it in the comments. We can review, and Carol will maybe give you some tips how you can improve it. Maybe in your experience summary, you have already all these bits and pieces. You just need to rearrange them follow Carol's structure. So if you have time, please pop your whole 20 sentences. And if you don't have time for 20 sentences, just give us this introduction bit with like 3 sentences. And Amit is actually asking, this elevator pitch style for starting a conversation.
Yes, they can be. Yes, they can. So, imagine you're in I don't know, say a conference or a business meeting, or, an environment where you don't know somebody. And I might say, hi, Amit, what do you do? It's great to have that answer ready to go. Now, there you probably wouldn't talk for a minute if we're just in a social or semi-business social, let's say, situation, or we're on a call like this. You probably wouldn't answer for a minute. But you absolutely can start a conversation with it. One thing I should say also is, in that kind of scenario, if you do the sort of short version, the 15 seconds, I'm a whatever your role is, I'm a business writer, I help this type of company to achieve this type of outcome. What you're looking for there is for somebody to say, oh, that's interesting. In which case you can then go on and do the next part where you expand. So if you're in a face-to-face situation, which is more of a conversation, you would do the short version. They might reciprocate with their short version, and then they might ask you, well, tell me a bit more about it. And then you go on to part 3 where you expand. Whereas when you're in the more formal situation, you probably do the whole minute without interruption.
I guess the good point that you mentioned, and I want to just stay on it for a second, as starting a conversation, usually it's a good practice to ask someone a question that you want to be asked.
Yeah.
So usually, like, if you're starting a conversation and you ask the person, oh, what do you do? There is a high chance and the person will return the favor, and they will be like, oh, okay, so I'm doing this and this, so what do you do? And not even this question, like with the majority of questions, that's what's happening. Because, if someone will ask you, like, I don't know, what suburb do you live? Usually they will ask you back.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly right.
So
it's the basics of conversation.
Yeah. So if you actually starting conversation and you have your elevator pitch ready, so you want to be asked this question, what do you do? So you would ask the person exactly this question. You will ask them, what do you do? So you're already ready for your answer.
Yes, exactly right.
And so I know you have a few more tips here, Carol. So we talk about the structure, so what's the next bit when it comes to creating your elevator pitch?
So the next bit is the preparation. And look, my advice is write it down. It's very hard to sort of remember, or it's very hard to get it exactly right if you just keep replaying in your head. I'm a big fan of write it down. You can then sort of see, oh, that looks a bit clunky, or that, you can work better with it if you write it down, and then read it aloud. Read it aloud just to yourself with your timer on your phone, so you know how long it takes, because in some situations you will be given a minute and then they'll sound a buzzer and you have to sit down. And then as you read it aloud, tweak it until you're comfortable with it. If it sounds a bit clunky, or it doesn't sound like something you would say, then tweak it, because sometimes what we write is not the same style as the way we speak. So write it, read it aloud, tweak it. You might need to shorten it. You might need to just cut things out because as you're reading it aloud, you're timing it, and then test it. Test it on a few people. As I say, if you go to networking meetings, for example, test it and look at the faces, watch people's faces on the screen, or when we get back to face, in the room. Test it out, look at people's faces. You'll be able to tell if it's working. Okay, so that's the preparation, and then the final step is the practice. Look, it's a question of, like I said, it's got to roll off the tongue. So it's practice, 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 and as I've said to you with that example I used of the surgeon, opportunity is everywhere. So practice it again and again and again. And we did have a poll question, didn't we, Jana, about that, about practice?
How long does it take? So guys, how long do you think a TED Talk speaker who's going to give a 10-minute speech would practice the speech? So what do you think, guys? Few hours, 2 hours, 5 hours, 10 hours, maybe a day, maybe a week. So what do you guys think? So we'll wait for the questions, but I'll just want to come back to this slide here, because I can really resonate with this. Then you writing scripts for the video. You might not gonna write the whole script exactly how you're gonna say it in the video, but you want to put some points. And in the beginning, then you're just starting out doing videos. That's exactly how you feel, because you're trying your script. You're going again, and then after 7 times, that's exactly how you feel. Yeah. But then the interesting thing, once you film a few videos, every time it gets easier and easier. So coming back to practice and practice.
Yeah, exactly. No substitute for practice. So yeah.
So we actually have Shiraka writing the elevator pitch for review.
Yes, I saw that. So do we want to take a break and sort of critique that? We've got an answer as well, I can see on the question.
Let's go back to TED speaker first, and then we come back and review the few elevator speeches at the end.
Sure.
So it depends on the speaker, but would think maximum approximately 2 hours.
Okay.
And 5-7 days.
Wow. Okay. Or 50. Well, the answer is. Do you want me to give the answer yet, or is anyone else going to?
Look, there is always delay between the stream and the comments, but that's why even if you say answer now, people who wasn't here 7 seconds ago, they still don't know. So what's the answer?
So the answer is that a TED speaker practices for roughly 1 hour per minute of the talk. So if they were doing, now this isn't the preparation time, this is purely the practice. So it's roughly 1 hour per minute. So a 10-minute TED talk would have around 10 hours of practice. So if you're doing a 1 minute elevator pitch, that's at least an hour. So the reason I asked that question was just to give you a rough estimate. You might need to be practicing it over and over again for an hour. And it might be an hour all in one go. It might be in several goes. So I used to, in the days when we were face to face, I used to go to a networking meeting every couple of weeks, which was about half an hour's drive from home. So in the car, I would use that time to just out loud say my elevator pitch to myself, just so it was fresh in my mind to practice it. So I would do probably 15 minutes of practice on my half-hour drive to the meeting. So yeah, think about, and if you haven't done it for a while, you need to practice again, but you'll need at least an hour of practice for a 1 minute pitch.
That's a lot of hours. And that's after you actually wrote your speech.
Yes, that's right.
So you might spend these 5-7 days actually writing that TED talk, and then another 10 hours just polishing up to sound it that well. Because I must say, every time we listen to TED talk, it's most of the time it's like perfect. There is no, it's really polished. Yeah, there is no any like.
And some of the best TED talks are only 2 or 3 minutes long, and like I said, when you've only got a short time, every single word carries more weight.
And it's actually incredible how much information we can put in 1 minute if we structure the sentences right.
Absolutely.
The 90 seconds it's definitely enough time to get your point across. if you obviously think it through. So let's come back to Shrikant elevator pitch and see what we can change here. Do you wanna read it out, Carol?
Yes, sure. I'm an IT professional with 13 years experience, specializing in IT and business transformation programs, where I am responsible to deliver value to customers and stakeholders. So I'm an IT professional. That's good, because it tells us straight away what he does.
The context.
The context. What I'd probably like to see next is, and I specialize in helping. Now, customers and stakeholders is a little bit vague, but I would ideally like to see the types of companies that you help. So it might be, I specialize in helping banks or large corporates, or it could be, it could be an industry, it could be a size of company, it could just be businesses, it could be. But I'd like to see something around, straight after I'm an IT professional, I'd recommend that you go straight into I help, or I specialize in helping, or businesses to deliver transformational programs. But again, transformational programs isn't enough on its own. I'd like to see an outcome. So I would probably ideally like to see something like, I'm an IT professional who specializes in helping businesses deliver transformational programs to grow their business or streamline their business, or whatever the outcome is. Is it about growth? Is it about streamlining? The bit about the 13 years experience, now that's impressive and it's not irrelevant, but it's not something you would put in this. This is a 15-second elevator pitch, this version. The 13 years experience, an elevator pitch of 15 seconds is not the place to be talking about your credentials. And as I say, customers and stakeholders is probably a little bit vague, but it's got most of the right elements, but we'd need to tweak it. So I just to repeat that for you, I think it would go something like, I'm an IT professional and I specialize in helping businesses deliver transformational programs which generate increase sales or streamline their business, or whatever the outcome is.
Whatever is the result. Yeah. Yes. So whatever is the.
It's important to have a who you help and what the result is.
And I guess the IT industry is so broad at the moment as well. It's like every company is IT company. So it would be. Yeah, so it would be nice to narrow it down a little bit. Amit, actually, write your elevator pitch if you're still with us. You've been with us the whole time. Write down your elevator pitch, how you usually introduce yourself, so we can have a look at this as well. The last question that we have there: how do you know that you actually got it right?
Well, you got it right when, instead of getting this, this face, you get a slightly different face, which, if you show the next slide, Jana, So this lady with her very impressive plait goes from looking rather puzzled to a face that is looking engaged. We all know when somebody's engaged. I heard the other day something about look for the eyebrows, because if the eyebrows go up, it means they understand or they're engaged. And if the eyebrows go down, they're puzzled. And I thought that was a good tip. But you're going to get a much more engaged face. You're going to get feedback like, interesting, tell me more. Oh, that sounds interesting. I know someone you should meet. That's the kind of feedback you're looking for, and that's how you know you've got it right. And it takes a bit of practice, but when you're delivering it, look at people's faces. Look at how they're reacting, and see if you get this kind of face and those kind of words.
And I guess the last one is the best one. I usually always feel that the elevator pitch went well. Then the person saying like, "Oh, you should talk with such and such person," or like, "Oh, I will connect you with the person." And it not always your potential client. Often it would be just some business partnership or something, or they would think about someone who in a similar industry or in a similar area, or maybe they have a similar clients, and that's usually one of the best business partnership, when you have a really similar clientele and you can cross refer people to each other as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you and I, Yana, you might be helping somebody create really good videos, and then I help them with the words, either the script for the video or the words that go on the website alongside the video. So absolutely, it's probably not likely that the person you're speaking to is going to become your client. They may, and that certainly does happen, but it's more about, because if they get what you do, they can repeat it to someone else. So it may be that straight away at the time they say, I know somebody you could meet. The other thing that happens, if you get this right, is that, they don't say that at the time, but they go away and they remember what you do and they think about what you do. A week, 6 weeks, 6 months later, they're talking to somebody who says, yeah, look, I use LinkedIn and I know I should be using videos, but geez, I just feel really embarrassed when I'm trying to make my own videos and the lighting's terrible. And I know who you should talk to. So sometimes these things come back weeks, days, weeks, even months later. But the point is, unless somebody remembers and understands, or understands first and then remembers what you do, they can't make that referral. But often it's about, that's why it's so important to say who you help and how you help them, because then they can listen out for that problem. Or they might hear somebody say, well, gosh, I really struggle to be confident on video. Then they know that's the problem that you solve, and that's why they will then refer to you.
And I think a really good point you mentioned there. You don't need to expect that person you're talking with will be your client.
No.
And that's, I guess, the attitude that a lot of people have. Then they come to some business network event, and then they're talking the elevator pitch. It might sound sometimes salesy, and it doesn't really work, because if it's a first, it's a first thing that you saying about yourself, it shouldn't sound like you're trying to sell me something straight away.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. It's not a sales pitch.
And so coming us to first slide. Here we go. I mean, actually, I'm trying to change the way I portray myself. I'm a project manager in IT. However, I'm more people-centric. So here's my elevator pitch. I'm a passionate project manager who works with the teams to help them elevate their skills to deliver value to customer.
Okay.
What do you think, Carol?
Yes. Works with teams to help them elevate their skills. That makes it sound a bit more like you do a sort of training role. So my initial reaction would be, I don't think it's bad, but I'm a little bit confused. So you're saying you're a project manager, and then you're saying you help people elevate their skills. So I don't necessarily equate those two things together. So I think there's potential for confusion in there. I'm a little bit, I have mixed feelings about the word passionate. I'm a passionate project manager. Really, the elevator pitch should be focusing on the people you help. So what you feel about it is probably not always important. It can be a good thing to say, especially, but if you're going to use a word like passionate, you need to be absolutely sure that when you're delivering it, and I know we can't tell because this is in writing, but when you're delivering it, you've got to make that true. So there's nothing worse than someone says, I'm a passionate project manager. You say, I'm really passionate about project management. And what I love is the fact that I get to help teams elevate their skills to deliver value to the customer. So I'm a little bit confused. I think it's got a lot of the right elements, but I'm not sure about passionate. I'm just a little bit confused because as a project manager, you're helping people elevate their skills to deliver value to the customer. So the teams you're working with, are they in the same company as you rather than being the customer's teams? Because so I would come away
define
from
the
that,
skills.
a little bit confused.
Yeah, maybe define the skills a bit
also
too small. What type of skills maybe?
Yeah, and define who the teams are. Yeah, but I mean, if you would like to email me that elevator pitch, I'd be very happy to email you back some written suggestions.
And we have Carol's email here. Actually, I think I have a pretty picture too. Here we go. So, Carol, I think it's a time for the giveaway.
Yes.
So,
yeah,
I guess we it's not a hard choice today.
No. So
we have as a giveaway, we have a 2-hour coaching session with Carol. Here's our giveaway for today.
Mm-hmm.
And
so who are you going to give it to, Jana?
So we have two active participants who actually not just listen to us, but actually participate in the conversation. So I don't know what we should do. We have Shrikant and Amit who actually wrote us the elevator pitches. So who will be the lucky winner? Who will get the review from you?
Look, I think it's really, really hard to pick. So I think they are both going to get a session, a 2-hour coaching session.
Amit actually winning the second giveaway on the row on my live streams.
Oh, really? Yeah. Wow.
We just last week we just sent him a book. Here we go. Amit, doing really well. So I make sure I connect you on LinkedIn. So that's the wrong slide. Connect to LinkedIn so you can discuss how they can get the giveaway. And also, Carol, what would be your last tip when it comes for the elevator pitch?
It's not all about you. It's about who you help and how you help them, because that's what people remember, and that's what will allow them to refer business to you. So it's not all about you. And then I'm just going to sneak in a second tip, Jana, and that is practice until it rolls off the tongue.
And I just can't help to put this picture again.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely describe the practice bit. It's need your tongue need to hurt,
Yeah.
It's if your tongue is not hurting, you're not practicing enough.
That's right.
Here we go. And saying thank you and wow. And thank you as well from my God, Shrikant, if I'm pronouncing your name wrong, but I believe I'm not. I'm pronouncing it correctly. So, thank you so much, guys, for joining us. We over the time, a little bit over the time now, so we're almost up to 50 minutes. So again, I just want to say thank you, everyone, for joining us today at this live stream. And as usual, it's available for the replay on the YouTube channel. So you can subscribe to YouTube channel. I think, where is my YouTube channel? I probably should remind people here. So you can follow Live with Jana hashtag on LinkedIn to get notification about LinkedIn Live as well. But it's also easier to subscribe to YouTube channels because then you get the notification straight away, because on LinkedIn it's more confusing. Sometimes it's popping up, sometimes it doesn't. So make sure to subscribe to LinkedIn YouTube channel, because we have a lot of interesting speakers in upcoming weeks, especially now that we're in the stage 4 lockdown in Melbourne. Next week, we're going to talk about SEO tips in 2020 with Peter Mead. And the week after, we're going to talk about events, how to promote your events online with Anna Sheriff. And I believe, Carol, you know Anna.
I do. I've been to one of Anna's courses, and it was fantastic. I absolutely recommend it. She is so knowledgeable. So that'll be great.
So you make sure you tune in as well for this one.
Yes.
And also, guys, for those who's following me for a while, I want to remind you that tomorrow I have a webinar, how to effectively use video on LinkedIn to grow your business. The webinar will be tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. It's a live webinar, but you need to register. So for this one, it's not just going live. You actually need to go to my website and register for this one at janamartins.com webinars. So about the stage 4 in Melbourne. Done. It's bleeding inside, okay? But it will be fine. We only have 5.5 weeks left, yeah?
Yep, exactly.
It's only 5.5 weeks. And every week we'll have a great live stream with some amazing guests. So it will go just like that. So that's why, guys, please make sure you share my streams as well with your friends and text your friends so they can join us next time and get some great takeaways from the speakers like Carol. Thank you so much, Carol. Do you want to say anything? Anything?
No,
last word?
Go out, develop the pitch, practice. And yeah, it's a great asset to have.
Thank you, guys. Make sure you practice your elevator pitch, and I'll see you next Wednesday.
Thank you, Jana.
Thank you.